You don't have to don a uniform for service or sacrifice. I just happened to wear one when the actions happened for me that day.
How do you teach character? I think you have to let the kids' experiences teach them. Show them that they've already had these experiences that they can learn from in their own lives.
We can honor as a demonstration to the young people in particular that you need not go into the military and wear the uniform in order to confront a circumstance that will challenge your being.
You need to know that someone else before you did something amazing and that you're capable of doing that too and not just running away from your problems.
What's interesting about the Citizen Honors is that they look at it and they go, that could be me. And so they start to look at heroes as somebody they want to become instead of just somebody to look up to.
How many of you have had that one student that you just wish they would get out of your classroom, out of your face? That kid maybe he's just looking for a little push-up instead of a push-out.
Hey everyone, my name is Brayden Druvalo. I'm a scholar from the year 2015. I'm coming to you live from the Reagan Presidential Library up in the private quarters where I'm playing on Ronald Reagan's 9-foot Steinway grand piano. It's like playing a Lamborghini. This thing is top of the line. It's great to play. In fact, Roger Williams wrote in here, this is the finest piano in the world. On this finest piano in the world, I wanted to play the national anthem for you. I rewrote it, so I hope you enjoy it.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Tony Penny, and I'm the Chief Learning Officer at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. Coming to you live from our Air Force One Discovery Center, Reagan Leadership Academy, where typically we host students all year long, but our museum has been closed down for about a year now, so we're broadcasting live from here. I want to welcome you to today's program. It's a very special one. We have our annual Medal of Honor Forum. So we have been working with the Congressional Medal of Honor Society for the past 11 years to share their program, the Character Development Program, which leverages the stories of the Medal of Honor recipients to teach about character. And I'm very honored to invite onto the stage and to join me now in conversation Colonel Jack Jacobs and Sergeant Major Matt Williams. Colonel Jacobs, Sergeant Major Williams, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I want to jump right into it because a lot of times when we've done this program in person in the past, we typically have anywhere from 900 to 1,000 students, and the character development outreach that you're both doing through this program and through sharing your stories is really designed to help teach young people character. So what I'd love to do, I'd love to start off and hear a little bit about you as a young person, right? I think the young people who are out there watching kind of look up and they see that you're a Medal of Honor recipient and view you as a hero, but they want to know a little bit about where you come from and your background and what you might have been like as a kid. So maybe I could start with you, Colonel Jacobs. Could you tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up, and if one of these kids was in your class, what kind of student and in person were you as a young person?
So my wife would say I never grew up, and I probably never will. I'm a product of New York City. My father had served in the Second World War in New Guinea and the Philippines. And I was born while he was away in the South Pacific. And I grew up mostly in New York City, in Brooklyn and later Queens, and went to public school in Queens. I was like most kids, we played stickball in the streets using a Ford for second base and a Chevy for third base and all the rest of that stuff. And had a great time, and was very sad when we lived in the projects, in the subsidized housing projects in Queens, and was very sad when I had to leave because my parents decided that we were going to move out of the city. We moved to New Jersey. I went to high school and college in New Jersey. But I was like every other kid. I loved to go watch baseball. I remember going to Ebbets Field, where the Brooklyn Dodgers were, and a kid could get in for 25 or 35 cents. Wow! And you sat in the bleachers, and it wasn't until I was all grown up that I realized that just about everybody on the field went to the Hall of Fame. Because they had the reserve clause, and most ball players didn't make a lot of money. You'd be on the subway going to Ebbets Field, and you'd share a subway car with Roy Campanella and Pee Wee Reese and those guys, and they'd happily sign baseballs or your baseball glove. We all brought our baseball gloves and so on. It was an idyllic time for us. It was a period during which I think the economy grew at its fastest rate in modern times, certainly since before the Second World War. And I had a great time as a kid, but I always was going to join the Army because I thought then, and I still think today, that everybody who's lucky enough to live in a free country owes it something in the form of service. And though my father hated being drafted into the Army and hated getting shot at, I was going to join the Army and do my bit. I was going to do my 3 years and then get out. And so did a lot of kids in my neighborhood. I had friends who had fathers who had arms and legs missing. I had friends who had no fathers at all because they've been killed during the war. So that the shadow of the Second World War loomed very darkly over everybody. And I think it convinced a lot of us that we had to do our bit.
Excellent. So you hear, and when people talk about that Second World War generation, they talk about the greatest generation and this spirit of commitment and service. Matt, I want to turn to you and ask. So you're a little farther down the road. What was your childhood like? Did that same spirit of service kind of come through when you were a kid?
So it did, and it didn't. We didn't really have kind of that historical reference, if you will. With the greatest generation in World War II and all that stuff. But I grew up in a small town and was raised by, two loving parents that really taught me early on about, values and being, a person of character in general. My dad was very big on integrity and loyalty and those things, and instilled that in me, my brother and sister, and all of us at a young age. And work ethic kind of came along with that too. I had the privilege of spending kind of middle school, high school years on we had about 10 acres with, animals, and did the 4-H thing, and taught me kind of, how to take care of other things other than yourself, right? I had to get up every morning, go take care of animals, and go to school and come home and do that in the afternoon as well. And that's really kind of how I was brought up. The service piece, I agree with what Jack said. I think, we have the opportunity to live in a free, prosperous society. And the way to keep that is to ensure that we have people that are willing to serve. And that can look like a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different things. For me, frankly, I went to college. I was going to do criminal justice and looking forward to doing a federal law enforcement career. And then 9/11 happened, and that kind of changed my generation. It changed our outlook on things. It changed, what we all kind of thought we needed to do. And it gave us kind of a purpose, to be honest with you. And so service kind of came to the forefront in the form of the military for me at that point. And again, just like Jack said, I was going to go do my time. I plan on doing my one enlistment. 5 years is what I owed the Army, because I chose to be in the Special Forces. And I was going to do that. I was going to get out and use that opportunity that I was provided to move on and do something great in the law enforcement field. And I actually just fell in love with it. I had a great team. I had great people. We had a great time in Afghanistan. We did well. And it's something I really loved and felt like I couldn't get anywhere else. And that camaraderie has literally carried me through to this day. I've been in 15 and a half years, and I'll be in for, at least 5 more until I hit 20 and probably more after that.
Excellent. Could I circle back to you with, you mentioned 9/11 as being kind of a clarion call. And if I remember correctly, you graduated high school in 2000, right? So you would have been roughly a college freshman or just beginning kind of your first year after high school when 9/11 happened. What was that like, or what was your experience in responding to that? And how was it that kind of propelled you to want that career in the military?
So I was, graduated in 2000, that's correct. I think, so just started my sophomore year in college. And I remember, we waking up that day in the dorm room. And, it was back before, we didn't watch news all the time, but you turn the TV on then and something's going on, and we all kind of were drawn to it to kind of see what was actually happening. Actually, I went to class. I was in a government class at the time. I forget which one, but show up and the teacher, the professor at the time, kind of, we talked about it a little bit, and then they shut everything down. And this is a little small town in San Angelo, Texas. Couldn't be further away. But everything stopped. And that's obviously, I think that was true for most of the country. And it was something that it hit home really, for everybody. We all realized, when everything kind of came out, we realized that we'd been attacked. It really changed the tone of our outlook on things. I would say for at least me, my friends and all that. We went from, just kind of happy-go-lucky, living in America, great way of life, to feeling vulnerable. And that's really what kind of drove me in my mind to want to do something about it. I felt like it was right. I felt like I needed to do my part to kind of get out there and fight for our country and maintain our freedom.
Yeah, I want to go back to Jack, kind of taking that idea of a big external factor. You talked about how your father served in World War II, and obviously the big external factor there that drove American involvement and support of the war in World War II was the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Was there a similar kind of moment or external driving factor that caused you to want to join the service? And how did your parents react? You said your dad didn't necessarily want you to go that route.
Well, interesting about my father, like I said, he hated getting dragged out of college and drafted, hated the bureaucracy of the Army, hated getting shot at. Nobody likes getting shot at. He just absolutely despised all of it. And then when he got to be my age, he and all of his friends, the same age, all of whom served, all they would talk about was how proud they were at having saved the world. And they had. Things look a lot different when you're a little bit older and a little bit smarter and a little bit more experienced. It was his experience as contributing to the saving of the world, to defending the Republic, That's what motivated me to join the Army. But like Matt, I was going to do my 3 years and then get out. But I stayed, and I stayed because I really loved the people and I didn't want to leave them. And today when people ask me, what do I miss most about the Army? I've been retired from the Army for over 30 years. What do I miss most about the Army? I say the same thing time and time again. It's the people. I really miss the people. The people who've decided that they're going to do something for the other 325, 350 million of us. No, there wasn't one event, but the whole arc of history pointed toward my doing my bit and make my contribution to the defense of the Republic.